long as I don't need it, then it's fine, but. Call to order, roll call, please. Oh, give it a minute, do what you gotta do. Get organized, sure.
Brian Card,
Here.
Michael Buco. He's absent with notification. Norm Farren,
Present.
John Sanchopoulos.
Here.
Elaine Lazard.
She's absent with notification.
Present. Okay, sitting of alternates, Mr. Farren, obviously, you'll be sitting in for everybody. Got it. Whichever one you want to spin for. Agenda addendums, any?
No, I just don't see the first applicant, though.
I'm sorry?
No agenda addendums, but I don't see the first applicant for the first public hearing.
Special permit application number 251348, B&B Car Wash, 543 Warrigan Road. GIS map 262, lot 20, 2.1 acres, general commercial hand wash, car wash, in the 2 bays on the north side of the building. Continued from May 19th, 2025. Anybody here for that?
He was in the office earlier, so I do expect that he will be here tonight. I think he may just be running late. If you want to,
Move it to the end. Somebody want to make a motion, we'll move this to the end of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to move it to the end of the agenda.
Have a second? Well, we'll make it,
The end of this section?
this section of new business,
Yeah.
unfinished, whatever it is. Public hearings.
I'll second.
Norm Farren seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, okay.
here.
Done. 25, 13, 48. All right, zone text change, application 251352, Town of Killenly, P and Zone, Planning and Zoning Commission, rewrite of section 470, site plan review of the Town of Killenly zoning regulations. Anne Marie, did you want to make a presentation of this?
Again, this is something that the Planning and Zoning Commission has been working on. The original site plans, the differences, and part of that is in the report. This is a total rewrite of that section 470. Upon review of the current regulations, it was noted the regulations needed some updated language. Also realized the regulations were not user-friendly and they were sometimes difficult to follow. The proposed regulations include such items as the authority towards permitted by right uses and for special permitted uses. The proposed regulations require a pre-application technical meeting with staff, which is something that was never there before. The proposed regulations try to follow the actual steps of going through a site plan review. As I said, the other ones seem to have jumped around. The procedural timelines will be moved to an administrative appendix, which will allow staff to keep up with the requirements. Timelines as required under state statute. The proposed regulations now include referrals to expert consultants. The old regulations did not. The proposed regulations increased the standards for approval. The proposed regulations now include financial guarantee requirements. The old regulations did not. And the proposed regulations clarify the difference between minor and major amendments to site plans and the steps that need to be taken for approval of such amendments. Does anybody have any questions or issues for the commission? Is there anything the commission wants me to go through the actual site plan review document?
Commissioners, anything that, you want to revisit on this site plan review? John, Brian?
All set.
All right, anybody from the public want to speak to site plan review, proposed legislation? Anybody for or against?
Ed Grandelsky, Upper Maple Street, Dayville.
just reminding you, this is, just site plan review.
Site plan review,
And
that's
then we'll
what I'm
have special
trying to,
permit, and then the PRD.
yeah, the PRD, I'm not, that's something different. I don't know if this is the right time, but when you do, it's just a review. It's not, when you put the documents, the final documents in a sequence, that, the final approvals. So this wouldn't be the time for that, to speak about once you're at the approval process, that there is a place where you can go, that it's very clear as to exactly what you guys are approving. You know, if you're making a specific requirement, where does that show up?
To me, this would be just an addressing site plan review, the conditions and.
Okay, maybe this is not quite the time for that.
Right.
Okay.
Requirements for site plans, what needs to be involved, why you would want a site plan.
Who is the overseer to verify when you do a review, when you do an approval, who is out in the field to say, this project is built to this site plan? Is
Well,
that,
say
is
staff.
that part of this
I
discussion?
would say town staff is that their job to actually physically check things out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thomas Weaver, 34 Raymond Road, Dayville, Connecticut. I was at the early 70s when they brought zoning in. And back then, I voted against it because everybody was saying, you know, you're going to have pig farmers move next door to you and all this bull. So anyways, the reason I'm here is in my opinion, I'm saying no to this cluster housing, whatever you want to call it, four houses per acre.
So Tom, that's what I was just trying to say to Ed. I don't mean to be rude, but this section is just for the site plan review, which was the plan when you come in and we need just the site plan. That's just the drawing. So that, what you're talking about would be PRD, which will be coming on later, not site plan. So we're doing site plan review, special permit, and then the PRD.
Sorry.
No, that's
Just-
fine. You don't see it all the time, so I understand. Huh? No, we could do it all.
Do I just give my name?
You tell me, I don't care.
I understand that. Do I just give my name?
If you want to combine them.
My name is Barbara Yater. I live at 4 Normandy's Park in Dayville, Connecticut. One thing before I get started, in the back, they're asking that you guys speak more into your mics because we can't hear you. But my question is, how did we arrive at site plans if we haven't even voted on changing the regulations? How did we even arrive there?
Site plan is a regulation in and of itself, and then you have the regulations for special permit, how that gets processed.
Right, I understand that. That's not my
And then we have a regulation
question.
for plan of
I underst-
residential development.
I understand that. My question, I guess I should break it down. So why would you go through spending all the money on site plans if you don't even know that it's gonna pass?
Well, that's up to the applicant. I mean,
So, can I, Mr.
Go
Chairman?
ahead,
So,
go
so just to clarify, there are zoning rules that are already out there, right? So what we're doing tonight is we're looking at 3 of those sections in the existing zoning rules, and we've modified those 3 sections, right? One of the sections that we're talking about right now is the site plan review section, section 470 of the rules. So these are existing rules that are in place. All we did is we upgraded them to essentially clean them up a little bit and make them easier for the users. So what we're talking about right now is those revisions and changes to section 470. It's called the site plan review section of the zoning rules.
Okay, so then it will be later on that we talk about the new regulations that are trying.
This is a regulation. This is, the section 470 is an existing regulation that we're currently modifying. Then we have another section called special
This
permit.
is all your regulations.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
I
all right,
understand,
so
I
it's just-
understand that.
This is just one section.
So there are
Right,
3
I-
sections that we're modifying.
Right.
And again, this is the site plan section 470. So there's no site plan in front of us. These are just the existing rules and regulations that we're basically modifying.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Anybody else want to speak about site plan? I mean,
Ed Grandelsky, page 7 of 8, it's talking about maintenance bonds that may be required for maintenance of roads, streets, and whatnot. Who determines the amount of that maintenance bond? Is that something that you will be doing during this site plan?
typically it goes through staff, and staff evaluates what would have to be done by the town if it's not accomplished by the
Maintenance,
applicant.
if
Go
you, if you look on page 6, Ed, there is, under section 470.15, under financial guarantee, section A2 under that, it says maintenance bond. A maintenance bond may be required for the maintenance of roads, streets, retention, or detention basins, or other improvements under the site plan, and will be retained for a period of 1 year after the date said improvements were completed, to the satisfaction of the town engineer. It is the town engineer that sets the maintenance bonds. There is a formula that they use, and it's the town engineer that sets that.
Okay, so what happens when we're 10 years out? And there's no money to finish. The town council hasn't approved the particular arena. Example, Colonial Drive, where, you know, maintenance bonds, there's all kinds of stuff going on with that. You know, 1 year, again, we gotta be a little more,
And at the end of 1 year, it usually gets evaluated whether it's been, needs to be continued or not, you know, for maintenance bonds or performance bonds. So, if anybody wants to
It has to be,
expand on
it has to be completed to the satisfaction of the town engineer. If the town engineer hasn't signed off on it yet, the maintenance bond does not get returned. There's
But it-
also directions in there about what happens before a financial guarantee is released.
So a lot of times what happens, if it's not done and fully filled out, done, completed, they'll ask the applicant and we'll try to get it to just continue with maintenance bond beyond the year.
yeah, but we're not gonna be able to increase, if there's a screw up or whatever's going on, that's what I'm saying, is the
Well, it has
maintenance.
been increased before,
Yeah, okay,
for,
but I don't know if there's enough language in here to cover the town, because I think we're getting, well, the example, Colonial Drive, the town is getting the short end of the stick.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I think it's a combination of
Just
before,
introduce yourself for the-
Rich Roberts, town attorney. Before the project is complete and whatever public improvement it is, if it's a road, before the road is accepted by the town, there's the financial guarantee that's in place to make sure that it's done correctly. And that just lasts as long as it takes to get the work done. And the town doesn't accept it as a town road until it is fixed, either using the money from the financial guarantee or the contractor does it. The maintenance bond only applies after the improvements have been completed and accepted by the town. And you're only legally allowed to have a maintenance bond that goes for a year after that.
So that's a state statute that talks about a 1 year?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, some towns used to be aggressive and basically demand an annuity that paid for improvements forever, and the home builders have better lobbyists than the town did, so it got shortened up to a year.
thank you.
Anybody else want to speak on site plan review? Commissioners?
I just found a couple minor typos, if you
Okay.
want those now.
So then, Mark?
So on page 2, at the second to the bottom paragraph, it says as being appropriated by staff. Just lose the D.
What section is that, please?
5,
Electronic digital copies?
yes. PDF or JPEG.
SD, okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, thank you.
Yep. And, I thought, on the very last page, page 8, as-built drawings. The second time it's mentioned, it just says the as-built is to be submitted. I think that should be the as-built drawings are to be submitted. I don't know if you agree with that, but I'm just throwing out as a suggestion.
Oh, yes.
And
Thank you.
that's it.
We can fix those 2 Scrivener errors.
Okay. Anybody else in the public again that wanna speak?
Again, Ed Grandelski. Okay, so developer does his due diligence, builds the road, does all his things. Again, I'm using Colonial Drive as an example. How does it get to the town council for approval? Do we wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years?
Is Colonial Drive, I don't think that's a town road, is it?
No.
No, that's a private road
Right,
at
so
this
it's supposed
point.
to
It's
stay as
still
a
all owned as part of the larger lot that goes into the back. So it's privately owned, it's a private road.
So,
But
So
this
it
is
wouldn't
going
become, it
through-
would not come to the town council until the developer has met the standard requirements for the town and is offering the road over to the town.
remind me, the last applicant is gonna make it.
He's supposed to bring it up to grade for the town standards.
Okay.
He's been talking to Dave, who was our town engineer, with that, but we haven't, there's been no movement on that, so I personally do not know if he's still talking to Dave or not, so, but until then, it is a private road because it's on private land.
I know in the past, years ago, I'm just hypothetical here. You have to evaluate the road and what has to be done to it to bring it up to standards. And then work it out with the town engineer, and at that point, he either proceeds to do that, once he's completed and the town engineer finds it acceptable, he writes a letter, submits it, correct me if I'm wrong, to the town council for acceptance.
So that's what I'm looking
So-
at. All
Go
the
ahead.
monies, performance bond, maintenance bond, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Joe Developer, I mean, given what I'm hearing about Colonial Drive, the pavement was done. It's all falling apart. It's been 10 years. Let's put it this way, it's gonna take a lot for me to approve something. If it comes in front of me, I'm gonna have a hard time. So how do we make this? I wanna put the developer at risk. He owns the financial responsibility. And then there's gotta be a time frame. You know, we just leave things go on forever and ever and ever. And by that time, everything is shot. The whole infrastructure, the town's gonna have to go in and redo. And I do not wanna pay for that type of rehabilitation. So I don't know, I'm just trying to throw this out, that I'm not a fan that our paperwork, our monies that we're having for performance bond, maintenance bond, whatever kind of bond you have, is adequate, and that, so that when it comes to the town council, I can say, yes, I'm getting what I'm getting what we expected to get. You know, not a partial project. So
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't get past the town engineer without either doing the work or sufficiently bonding to cover the work if he goes to Florida. But as it stands now, it sounds like he's just sitting on his private property, not bringing it up to the required standards, nor is he coming to the town and saying, please take this crummy road. So it's sort of a, you know, kind of a standoff, really.
yeah, see, that's what I'm looking, I don't know how to make this, you know, I'd like to make this go away and get this, but that's what I see with this. We don't put enough, high enough performance bond, we don't make them high enough, we don't make the developers responsible enough.
The other thing I need to point out is that we did update the standards a couple of years ago, I forget how many years ago now, that all roads, whether public or private, are built to the same standard. So in the years past, these private roads were built to a lesser standard. Again, we changed the rules to make sure that these private roads are built to the same standard as a public road. So,
Well, if it's gonna stay a private road, it's built to the same standards. So are we out there inspecting the substructure? Are we inspecting the asphalt to the same standard? Or supposedly, the contractor is building it to the standard?
it's the contractor's responsibility, and a lot of times it's written in the plans that they must have an engineer on site to certify subgrade.
So if a private,
And again, before that road becomes public, it's up to the town to work with the town engineer to get certification that that town is
Right, right,
acceptable
that's
to the
what-
town standards, and the town council's responsibility to accept that road, not planning and zoning.
No. And that's where I'm at, that if I have to accept something,
Then you have full right to request the town engineer to do his job and give you the information you need.
okay, I will.
Remember, Ed, years ago, we had an issue where we required certain things, even when the roads were built at a lesser standard. And because that, we were very strict in how we wanted the road built. And at that time, which was,
No,
15 years
yeah, I know,
ago,
right,
they
there's a
didn't-
lot of issues, you know,
they
trying
didn't
to,
want to inspect, and the staff were required to, which we had the town manager of the time and town engineer before us, and which we brought that up, and it was said then that they would be inspecting during the construction, you know, to make sure they're meeting the standards set forth by the planning and zoning. We haven't had any roads built in years that I know of, so you know, it's kind of a moot subject.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
it sounds like he's talking about an issue that's between the contractor and the homeowners that have purchased property from him. If he hasn't moved this project, you know, timely, in order to get those roads approved, it seems to me that that's where the problem lies. You know, and until the homeowners or the people who have purchased property in that development can hold him accountable, I don't see how the town can jump in at any one point, you know, take that responsibility.
well,
on the
that's what I'm
townships.
saying, I don't wanna be at a disadvantage at the end, but then again, I'm looking at, when people buy into these things, they don't even know that it's a private road. So, is there something, okay, when you're looking at a site plan and when, something starts to happen, is there some way that you can require that where this attaches to a town road, that there be a signpost, private road? And then that, I know, cause, I got some language from Anne Marie that the people on Colonial Drive have it in their deed.
Right.
But when did that show up in their deed? This is after
The
they
date
bought
they-
the
no.
property.
That legal description is attached to the deed, and that is the deed when they bought it.
Ri-
So that's the day they bought it. So it's in the legal description of their deed. That deed gives us the ownership. That's when the transfer, the day of the transfer from the building to the landowner. So if the landowner is not aware of what's in their deed, that is not the responsibility of the town. That is the responsibility of the landowners, like real estate agent, attorney, and them themselves to read their own legal description.
Yeah, but that would be at the day of the first closing, that's when he shows up that's when they get their deed.
Right.
They don't get that when the house is up for sale, is there a piece of paper that said this is a private road? That's not there.
Well, legally, isn't that an obligation of the real
I-
estate agent? I mean,
No, that's
Attorneys
where
do
there's a lot
title
of things that
searches.
go on with this that this-
Attorneys
this-
do title searches. That's
And
what you get
that's
an
it.
attorney for.
Well, the experiences that I've had with an attorney, my property, I have a CLMP easement, I have a town sewer easement. Abutting people who abut the property, abutting mine, the attorneys never knew that there were 3 CLMP easements and a town of Killenly sewer easement. So, yeah, I mean, there's blame all the way around. So I'm trying to, I don't know how I can navigate this,
Well,
but.
you
I
were
mean-
aware of them, but your neighbors weren't aware of them.
Well, that's
Well,
true.
they should talk to their attorneys, whoever handled,
No, I understand, but that's what I'm
You know.
saying. A lot of things are going on. We have these subdivisions that are going on. They are private developments until such time that the town council approves the road. So I don't know if there's some place when, that we can put something out there to say
well,
private road.
typically also the involvement, like most of those have HOAs or some kind of,
Yeah.
organization within the community
So,
that, because they all become private roads, they're owned by all the lots in between there, so they're the ones at that point have to maintain them.
yeah, this is a,
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair-
wrap it up.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could, so the comments that the gentleman's bringing up is a different set of our regulations, subdivisions, so I'd be more than happy to have you come back in the next meeting, and we can address those issues, those are not within the site plan rules.
I appreciate you,
So.
allowing me to come up here and throw this out.
Anybody else wanna speak for site plan? Staff, again? Anything? Commissioners, one more time? John?
No.
Ryan? Norm? All right, if there's no more questions, can I have a motion to, close that public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I second it.
Motion by Brian, a second by John. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Public hearing is closed. Zone text change, number 25-1353, Town of Killenly Planning and Zoning
Mr.
Commission.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Sir,
The,
ma'am.
the gentleman from B&B Car Wash did arrive like as soon as we started the other hearing.
Well,
I
we
do.
moved it.
Okay.
So we,
All right. He's just gonna have to wait till the end of the meeting.
no, till the end of this section.
To the end of the session, so it's gonna be a while.
All right, text zone change, 25-1353, Town of Killenly Planning Zoning Commission, rewrite of section 700, special permits at the Town of Killenly zoning regulations. Let's just wait for Anne Marie. Anne Marie, if you wanna discuss, special permits.
Okay, again, special permits. Again, this is a rewrite, total rewrite of section 700, special permits for the town of Killenly zoning regulations. The proposed regulations state a purpose. It also talks about interchangeable terms that wasn't there, and the authority. The proposed regulations now require a pre-application technical review meeting with staff, which was not in the original original regulations. These proposed regulations have a clear list of application submittal requirements. A procedural timeline is governed by state statute, so will now be included in an administrative appendix. The proposed regulations now contain referrals and expert consultants. Make reference to that. And the proposed regulations have clear standards for approval. The proposed regulations now list decision considerations, and the proposed regulations now have added conditions and safeguards. The proposed regulations now refer to amendments, modifications, bonding, and financial guarantees. Is there anything in the special permits that the commission would like to review?
Commissioners, anything that you want to review? Norm? On the
No.
special permits? No. John? Brian?
No.
Staff? Anybody from the public want to speak, discuss the new proposed special permit section?
Ulatik Barclay, 26 Dark Lantern Hill Road. In the special permits, there was an addition of plan of conservation and development that the planning and zoning doesn't have to follow those, that it's up to their discretion and it's just advisory. So why do we have a plan of conservation and development that we're supposed, is mandated by the state when you don't have to follow those?
By statute, it's advisory. I mean, you should follow it, but it's not a binding document that can't be deviated from.
So then it can be deviated from all the time, just because it's advisory and it won't be adhered to?
Well, if it's not being adhered to and there are things that the commission determines are incorrect, out of date, obsolete, not their current thinking, they should amend the plan of conservation and development to reflect the current plan.
Hi, Barbara Yater, 4 Normandy's Park, Dayville, Connecticut. So for the planned residential development, it has in here affordable. Okay, so I'm up here, I'm just gonna say this, it has in here affordable housing. So affordable housing always means inner city people coming to our communities, foreigners coming to our communities. So are you guys really willing to sell your neighbors out, ruin your community? For what? For a couple dollars in your pocket? Don't you find that disgusting, very disturbing? Everything that you do in this community is not for the community, not for the people who've been here for generation after generation after generation. And this is what you do to us, and then you sneak it in. Barely any of us were notified this was even happening. We found out by sheer luck. And none of you feel a bit of shame about what you do. It's quite disgusting. I think every single one of you, I'm talking, I think every single one of you should bow your heads in shame for what you do to your neighbors for $1 in your pocket.
I don't know what you're talking about, man, I'm sorry, and there's no money being exchanged anywhere. Huh? Anybody else want to speak on special permit?
In what way is a special permit that you're offering?
I'm sorry?
What's the special permit that you're offering? Because I got no literature. All I got was
It's
this.
over on the table, I believe.
All right, well, we got time to read it in a second. The only thing I got was a flyer in the mail that don't vote tonight to actually stop people from putting 4 houses on 1 acre.
That's up on PRD, that's the next section.
Okay, I'm not sure. So
Okay, that's fine.
so you don't have to get rid of it.
Jason Anderson, 125 Lake Road. In regards to special permits, I would have loved to have seen language in here that would have some kind of enforcement in what steps the planning and zoning would take if the town staff did not follow your requirements for a special permit. For example, when construction was allowed and there was a inspection of the footing at the project on Hartford Pike, prior to DOT approval being submitted to the town, which was the exact wordings of your special permit. I had hoped that there would be language in this text change that would, in a sense, say what the planning and zoning department is gonna do if town staff allowed things to happen that didn't meet your requirements. That's all.
I'm not sure that, can you speak to this? Is that actually something that we could put in? Or is that more, isn't that more at the administration level?
Well, I mean, depending on what the specific issue is, you could potentially, I mean, and I think it was already in the site plan, you know, require the staff to confirm that it is in compliance with the site plan approval or the special permit approval before any certificate of zoning compliance or other approval is granted.
Can I just
I
want,
think that may also already be in here.
yeah, sorry, Mr. Turner, I just wanted to point out section 700.16, non-compliance with special permit, and just point the speaker to that section. 700.16.
Ed Grandelski, page 5 of 8, parking areas. Be of adequate size for the particular use. Give me some dimensions. I mean, if it's pedestrian type traffic, if it's, I don't know where that comes from. Who or what document do you go to know
Parking
what
section.
size a parking area should be?
We go to the parking section of our rules.
You go to what?
The parking section of our rules. We have a separate zoning section regarding parking.
Okay, so that should say right here. It says adequate size, look at section such and such.
We do, we look at the rules in total. There's just one section of the entire zoning package.
But it would be, for me, not knowing the rules could be a little more clear, just
How about closing that door?
you know, the same thing with, unloading zones and type like that. So you have a special area in the regulations that talk about,
Hold on a second.
Well, I'm trying to hear what you guys are talking about. I can't hear what everybody else standing in the doorway over there.
so in other areas, I guess, of your regulations, so you have, you know, size for parking areas, unloading zones for various types of, development, that's in another section of the regs.
Yes.
See, that would be nice if that was C section.
We can make that reference, that's not a problem.
You know, again, this is just a quick,
But that is all part and parcel of why we now do the technical review with staff to make sure that they have considered all sections of the regulations that they are required to consider.
and then, under adequate public utilities and services, conform to accepted engineering practices, that leaves a lot to be desired, because which engineer you go to, you know, certain standards, a lot of times there's a national building code, but we're how many years behind, stuff like that. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak to special permits?
I think Norm does.
No?
Just another typo. Page 2, section D, right in the middle at the very end. These materials shall include, oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong line. Instead of site plans, it says sty plans.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's for
Yep.
the pig farmer.
That's it.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know, I have no problems making a reference after the parking area or areas, and I can say reference section 530, off-street parking and loading. I can add that, that's not a problem.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to this application?
I'd just like to
Sure.
point out, that was a part of what we've done when, in order to sort of consolidate this thing. So referencing where you can find this information that you're looking for. I mean,
Yep.
you made a good point in this particular case, but that is what we've tried to do by making this whole thing less confusing, so that when there's a particular issue that you're dealing with, you know where else in the regulations to look.
Any commissioners, any other questions? Brian,
What's that?
John, any more?
No.
No? Staff, anything else?
No.
Anybody else from the public once again? Okay, then we'll close this public hearing. Have a motion to close.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Nora. Motion by Brian. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion. Opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Okay. Text change application 251354, Town of Killenly Planning and Zoning Commission, rewrite of section 570, planned residential development of the Town of Killenly zoning regs. Anne Marie, if you wanted to.
Okay, I'm gonna say we have a history of the planned residential development zoning regs. Gonna talk into my microphone, sorry. These regulations first became effective back in November 27 of 1989. They were concerned basically with the low and medium density zones. Densities were calculated as those densities normally permitted in the zone plus 10%. These first regulations were very basic. The first amendment to these regulations became effective on November 9th, 2011. They were concerned with low and medium density zones. They were a bit more detailed than the original regulations. Densities were calculated as 5 dwelling units per acre in low density and 6 dwelling units per acre in medium density. At the time that this amendment was passed, Section 575, elderly housing, was deleted in its entirety from the zoning regulations. Even the definition of planned elderly housing was removed. They deleted the planned elderly housing use in low density, medium density, general commercial density, and residential high, which is a borough zoning regulation. The second amendment became effective on September 18th, 2017. It was determined that the PRD, as written in 2011, did not make accommodations for elderly housing. Therefore, the PRD was divided into 2 types: independent residential living for families and single residences, and residential life care communities for the elderly. This revision of 2 types was brought forth to the Commission via a private application. This version included rural development zone, and the current density has not changed from the density that was put in during the 2017 revision. The proposed regulations include a definition, interchangeable terms, and intent section. Proposed regulations include a required findings section. That means when the application's being approved, there has to be certain findings made. The proposed regulations define the 2 classifications, then sets out the requirements for each classification in an orderly manner. The old regulations, you had to look through the regulations to find various and singular requirements. It was very confusing for those who were trying to make applications and the commission members themselves. The proposed regulations contain a new section entitled Common Amenities. This was done to make sure that the area was planned as a neighborhood. The proposed regulations contain a design requirement section. And again, I just want to note that the density for the rural development zone has not changed since the amendment in 2017. Now, also, the planned residential development is as we would say, an option for a landowner. Does not mean that every single landowner is required to do this. And it does not mean that every single lot or parcel of land is all of a sudden going to have 4 houses on it. It is an option. I have talked to NDDH, and they have verified that if it goes into the rural development, they will need to be approval for a well that can contain the proper amount of water for anything that is being proposed. And it's also that that parcel would have to contain the proper size of a septic. Does not mean, and they said that that would be based on the individual lots. So it's not every single lot in rural development is going to have 4 units per lot. This is just another option. Is there anything else that the commission wants to say?
I would just say that option's been in place for years. It's
It
not new.
started back
It's
in
not
nine-
new.
No, it's not new. It started back in 1989.
And how would you characterize this rewrite?
This rewrite, as I would characterize it, was something that, again, to make a very confusing regulation, follow a certain procedure, certain steps, A, B, C, and D. One of the things that we found was very confusing for applicants and for the commission members is the way the old regulation was written. It'd be like, you'd have, like density in one side, then you'd go 4 or 5 pages, you'd be allowed like lot coverage, and then you'd have to switch back and forth. Now we've got it where the 2 types of planned residential development are defined. They're defined right next to each other, and right after that, it tells you all what's required for what we put it as residential living and I forgot what the other one is, sorry. The residential life care communities, which is basically the elderly housing. So,
And just one last question. Would you say, in your opinion, are these rules stricter, a little stricter and harder for a developer to develop the property versus what they were?
yes.
With the new requirements that we put in here?
Yes, I believe that is the case, and because part of the problem is that the other rules could be interpreted in more than one way, and then we would find out that we would have an issue with the developer versus the commission. So we usually won because we were the commission, but also people are nervous because they think there's going to be a land grab. I want to make, I know the flyer was out there, and there is no land grab. It is an option for the landowner, okay? And the number of, really, even since 2017, we haven't had anything come into the rural development area. It's all been the low-density zone or a medium-density zone. Well, the medium-density zone one was actually a multifamily, not a planned residential. But it's all been low-density. We've had the country living at Westview Commons. We had the Colonial Drive, that is for some reason has been put on hold, and Valley Road, the Preserve at Valley View. Those duplexes are they're being developed now, and they're being sold as soon as they're being developed. But those are the only applications that we've had since the 2017 other applications have been subdivisions, regular standard subdivisions.
No, but I just want the message about that. This rewrite puts tighter controls on an existing rule. So, and if the rewrite does not go into effect, the existing rule is still there. So,
And I do want to let the commission know that we did get 3 public comments. They were put on your desk. We got one that was for it, with the addition, it said that basically there's a need for additional housing, allowed a new, let's see. Potential new housing will need to comply with all other requirements, including NDDH, septic, well systems, wetlands. Potential housing will need to comply with all building and fire codes, drinking water, wetlands, and local habitats. This person believes will not be at risk. Then we had 2 that did not agree with it. I need to tell you who they were. The first one was Mary Brom. She lives at 36 Youngs Lane in Danielson. She was in an agreement with the new regulations. Donald Crabtree from 872 Upper Maple was was opposed to allow 4 homes, and again, it's not 4 homes, it's 4 residential units per acre. Just saying he moved for the rural character of the town. And again, he says, rural areas, but 5 minutes away, we have our modern conveniences. I'm only trying to give outlines of these. And he just feels that there's way too many places that are losing their character due to development. The next one I have is from a woman by the name of Dina Suma, if that's how you pronounce it. Diane, I'm sorry. Diane Suma. I think I was more concerned about pronouncing the last name wrong. I'm sorry. Just saying that she doesn't want the rural community to change. Type of development will destroy the rural nature of the community. She says this is a quiet corner. We do not want to lose that title. She's talked about increased traffic in the town, saying more development will only create more congestion. And then she said another concern is the impact to the schools. And again, the school budget's out of control. Where can it go higher and higher? And again, this isn't a district, this is a use, and it's a use that's done by a special permit. Let's see, comparable district and student population. So, those are the 3 public comments that we got in.
Okay, commissioners, anybody want to speak?
Yeah,
Go ahead, John.
I heard 2 or 3 times, I heard 2 or 3 times this evening where, people think that this thing just sprang up. There's been hearings on this for, the last year and a half, at least.
Meetings?
That have been special meetings prior to the regular meeting, that anybody could attend and participate in. There were public comment periods. So I think had some of you people attended them, there'd be a better understanding of what the need was in order to do this.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think that having, rural development zone with an option of up to 4 units per acre, I think that's not a rural development zone. And, I can see it in other areas, like I've got no problem with the Westview development. That area seemed to be, good location for that. It's not rural. But if you,
It is rural.
it is rural,
It is rural.
but there's already multiple commercial developments there, including the
Well,
Westview Nursing Home
This
itself.
was for the assisted living, the new building.
Right.
That is under this.
Well, it's right across the street. You have a large nursing home.
Granted, but it was built with this regulation, is the point. One way or the other,
I just think,
Public utilities there,
yeah,
you know.
sewer and water.
I just think if somebody moves into like a rural zone, they don't expect a large development to pop up next to them because of the approval of a special permit. That's it.
I think it's interesting, because we've had how many meetings and you've been there, but you've never voiced that opinion at those other meetings. So, I mean, you know, it's always good to hear, and we look for that participation, but it's, you know, all of a sudden, in the other meetings, we haven't had that discussion. But that be said, anybody from the public want to speak to this application?
Oh, go ahead, sure, sure, no.
It'll be shorter.
I started.
Just like Michelle Murphy, 325 Breakneck Hill Road. I just want to say a clarifying thing. The public cannot vote tonight. I thought the flyer was kind of confusing, but these guys might vote tonight, or I think it will be tonight. And they said they're open to hearing what we have to say. They are able to change things now. They can take out 4 houses per acre, 4 dwelling units per acre. They could follow any suggestions. That was what we were told, that the hearing is the time. So they want to hear what you have to say, but we don't have a vote. They vote. I wanted to speak on it being in the book since it was 2017. 4 houses, 4 dwelling units per acre got in 2017 for 1 developer, and people didn't realize it got in. I don't think the general public realized it was in there. I understand that up until now, it has been very difficult for a house, for someone to come in and put 4 dwelling units on 1 acre because of septic and because, water and different things like that. But the technologies have changed. I work in wastewater. I have people, friends that are from Massachusetts, and they're doing this all the time. They're not tied into the sewer, and they're putting in large developments, and they're putting in package plants. So it won't be 4 houses per acre. It will be someone buys 10 acres and puts 40 houses, and they'll have a package plant. So these people are correct. It hasn't happened yet, but I believe it's coming. I see it coming in my business. So I'll just throw that out there. That's why it's different. You didn't have Desegregate Connecticut, passing all these laws. I want to speak on defense of these people because this commission tries very hard to keep us below 830G and different things like that with public housing, so they don't have to be mandated by the state. Everything they have done has been to try to keep the state off our back. But this particular thing, I feel like there's no law that is mandating 4 houses, 4 dwelling units per acre, and we don't need to make it easy on the state. So with that, I've got a little tiny thing to say, but I do want to appreciate these guys because everything they do is good intent in my opinion. I just think we shouldn't do this. I'm asking that you remove planned residential development from rural zones. I don't believe the people want that much density in rural zones. Per definition, rural is 1 dwelling unit per 1.83 acres, almost 1 house per 2 acres. As I said, I appreciate the commission. To my knowledge, there's no law as of yet that requires us to mandate, as a commission, 4 dwelling units per acre. So I don't understand why we wouldn't take it out. It's safer. We're setting ourselves up for what's coming. I ask that planned residential developments be removed from rural developments. Yeah, that's what I got. So thank you.
Just for clarification, I think it needs to be said, when you put out 4 units per acre, you take a 10-acre piece of parcel, you take out buffers, you take out roadways, you take out utilities, septics, recreational areas, because they're required in there, public transportation places. When you take out everything and you provide all the buffers, you're only limited to let's hypothetically a 10-acre parcel, you're limited to probably 6 or 7 acres that you're actually developing. So you're going to be putting those houses in that short area. Yes, it will still be a higher density area, but
Mr. Chairman, staff today did try to do some hypothetical areas. And we did say that, wetlands, you have a 200 upland review area that would have to go through wetlands itself. The septic has to be at least 100 feet from the wetlands, and I believe the distance between a septic system and a well has to be at least 75 feet. And we always require that they give us on the plans a backup septic field. So all of that
Takes away from.
takes
10
away
acres.
from what happens.
It's just a note to say, if you had 10 acres, you're not putting 40 houses out there. But, I understand, but go ahead. Go ahead, Ed.
Ed Grandelski, Upper Maple Street. So, why are you taking, and I quote, from effective September 18th, 2017, page 7 of 10 of the, whatever we are in, all PRD, both IRL and RLCC, shall be serviced by municipal sewer system and public water. Satellite or community water systems are prohibited. Sanitary sewers shall be designed and installed to meet the minimum town requirements. All utilities, sewer, water, gas, telephone, and electric shall be installed underground, blah, blah, blah. Why are you taking out city water and city sewer? That, because you guys passed the Westview project, which had city water and city sewer. City water and city, we paid for that. We paid big money to extend the sewer line out there. So we're eating this now after the effect, that because we extended the sewer line to a place to make that project work. Westview Commons would not happen if there was not city water and city sewer there. So, whereas shall be serviced by municipal sewer systems and public water in the previous rendition, why is that not here? If that was here, you wouldn't be having a potential project up on Roth Road, Tucker District Road, Griffiths Road, Ledge Road. Somebody could come in, if this is approved, they could do that. But then again, we're looking at low income, we're trying to get affordable housing. How does that come into play? You're defeating the purpose of that.
Wait, Joanne?
This is the planned residential, this is section 570, the effective date was September 18th, 2017, page 7 of 10. This is the current, I guess this is the current,
The existing PRD rules he's
the
quoting from.
existing rules. Okay, no problem, no, just interfere with me, let me know, we want good minutes. Now, because our sewer system and water system are more closer in the center of town, it's closer to shopping, it's closer to the amenities that they want to have. Now, if people don't have a car and they're into this, is NECOG Transit District going to cover the proper transportation to get those people? If this is done in an outlying area, which if you approve this, a developer can do it. We keep saying, no, they won't, they won't, they won't. But as Michelle was saying, all of a sudden, we're starting to get things to go on, but we need people to be able to get to Killingly Commons. So if this happens, if for some reason this is passed, Joe Developer comes in and puts this at the end of Roth Road, at the end of Tucker District Road. How many miles is that to Dayville? Let's see. And, yeah, so somewhere along the line, Westview got snuck in, and it's okay because it was on city water, city sewer. But you guys are taking this out. They're taking this out. City water and city sewer is taking out of this proposal. If that was in there, we wouldn't have a problem that, the potential problem that we're gonna have. Now, it's just a problem that we have a moratorium on the sewer system. Well, all the more so, we got light a fire. We gotta get more money to get that sewer plant going. So, but you're taking something out, and was not discussed in any of your things here. Put city water and city sewer back in, and then I would have no problem with this. Thank you.
We'll try this again. Tom Weaver, 34 Raymond Road, Dayville, Connecticut. I agree totally what Mr. Grindelsky just said as far as water and sewer. My main concern here is cluster housing. A lot of these people here have their own homes, nice homes, and all of a sudden, you're gonna put all these, in the trade, we used to call them, I can't say the word, crap box houses, undersized. And all it's gonna do is lower the value of our homes. And I'm sure the town of Killenly isn't gonna take it off, but that's what's gonna happen in the real estate market. And I just say no. I think there's, everything that you have written on those papers there is gonna change. And it's not gonna be what we think it is, and we're gonna get screwed. Simple as that.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Ann Dauphiné. I live at 204 Wright Road in South Killingly, and I'm also the state representative for Killingly and Sterling and Plainfield. And with all due respect, I wanted to start off with saying that just because people weren't at meetings prior to this meeting doesn't give them the right to be here and be, I kind of think, chastised for coming now to speak. I get calls before bills, I get calls after bills, I get calls after bills have been passed, and I would never, ever say to you, why weren't you there at the hearing? People don't always know that they're going on, so I just wanted to put that out there with all due respect. I have gotten several dozens of calls with regard to this issue. It's a town issue, it's not a state issue right now. We do have a big housing bill up in Hartford that's going to come your way. And yes, developers will be flooding this town to come in. So maybe you've only had a couple of opportunities here, but they're coming. Because when this bill passes, and I think it will in some shape or form, but people have been very opposed to this option. And whether it's been an option or not, they don't want it to be an option. Many people that called me said that they signed a petition. And when it was presented here to you, it was dismissed and disregarded. I wasn't here, so I'm not speaking to that. But people are upset and they want to be heard. And what I'm hearing from the individuals from this town is they don't want this. They don't want their rural parts of Killingly to change with 4 dwelling units on an acre. They don't want that. So I'm here speaking on their behalf and letting you know that they want that taken out tonight out of the policy that you're putting forward. And that's what I'm going to say and speak for the people that have reached out to me. And oh, by the way, not one person, not one, has reached out to me and said, could you please speak in favor of this? They don't want it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Birdie. I'm at 125 Lake Road in Dayville. So one of my concerns was with the sewer regulations and how it would affect the potential neighbors, but that was previously spoken by earlier. But as a mom, I'm raising 3 kids in this town, and I want them to be able to grow up and not have it be the not so quiet corner anymore. It's called the quiet corner for a reason. And I think that if this gets pushed forward with the 4 dwellings per acre, I think that it's really going to ruin what this town has the name of the quiet corner for. I don't think we need to be even having this as an option. and I think everybody here would agree with me, whether they're watching at home or sitting in the audience. As a mom, I say no to this, and I'd love to have that taken out of it, because it's not fair for people who have been here their whole lives to just all of a sudden have it change. And it is coming here. Up in Massachusetts, it's happening. Michelle was right. Anne's right. Everything is coming down here, and you may say now, well, it's just a quiet corner, you know, it's a small town, it's not going to happen here. Well, every time people say it's not going to happen here, things usually do. So I'm not in favor of it. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak?
Ulatik Barclay, 26 Dark Lantern Hill Road. I'm going to reiterate on the updates to the planned residential development of September 18th, 2017. It was made for one applicant. The applicant was the owner of Westview Nursing Home. So this change was made for the benefit of a developer. The changes that are proposed for planned residential development are all for the benefit of the developers. They are not for the benefit of the people that live in this community. There is a minimum of 10 units. There's no maximum. You're trying to make this sound pretty by saying, oh, if we have 10 acres, they might only be able to develop 7. Well, on 10 acres, there would be 5 houses, but on the 7 in a planned residential development, that would be 28. So what would you rather have? Also, what I'm looking at is the lot coverage has also been changed. In the rural, it's was 25, and it looks like the lot coverage has been changed up to 30%. So in addition to more housing, it's also more space that has more tar, more coverage, less trees. So I don't know how this is stricter than previous. It is not. As Ed had mentioned, you've taken out the city sewer and city water. So this is definitely for the developers. And as Michelle had said, those packaged sewer systems, that opens up a whole another ball of worms here and makes it so much easier for developers to come. And with if you look up Desegregate Connecticut, the one who's behind all of these changes in Connecticut, they're backed by dark money, George Soros, BlackRock, large New York and New Jersey developers. That's who's going to be coming to this quiet corner. It's not going to be small developers. It's going to be the large scale, and they are going to level this town. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just point of coverage, the lot coverages are exactly the same. They're not different.
Good evening, Scott Heap, 63 Soap Street. I'm a contractor here in town. I'm also a real estate investor here in town. And I had some questions. First question is first and foremost, does this regulation change have anything to do with Agenda 2030 in 15-minute cities?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
No.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, I apologize, but I haven't heard of it. Maybe somebody else has.
Mm. I am not in favor of
Why?
this.
Tell me what it
because-
is, what it is.
You don't know what it is? You really don't know what it is?
I really don't know.
Okay. Let's see, it's a plan by the United Nations to legislate 15-minute cities, higher density, like this, making a more higher density, okay? So that they can control the people more effectively. And we don't want that. We don't want higher densities. We like our town the way it is. This is not gonna be in the benefit of the people of this town, and I'm opposed to it.
Whoops, good evening, Nancy Grindelsky, 877 Upper Maple Street. I'm wondering, could a developer come in and build a lot of houses in a small area, and then instead of selling them, like rent them all out? Would they be able to do that? Yes?
In multifamily, I don't know, I guess it could work in this too. So,
It could do it in
PRD as well,
PRD. There is no,
requirement for separate ownership.
yeah. So, I mean, everybody knows about developers buying up all these starter homes and renting them at high rates. You know, that's a problem across this country. There's not housing available. But they make a lot of money doing that because rents are so high. So what's gonna stop them coming in? You know, and our land is cheaper here. Everything's cheaper in the northeast corner, taxes. I would think developers would be flocking here to take advantage of this. So I am against this. I know we need housing. We need starter homes. Young people are really having a hard time finding a home, but I don't know if this is the right way to do it. So that's my comment. And I'm wondering, who sent out that postcard? Does anybody know? Oh, okay. Yeah, the Kenly Republican Town Committee. Okay. All right. Is that postcard, you think it's factual?
Never got one, can't tell
Oh.
you.
Okay. I
There
mean-
are some issues with it.
Oh, what kind of issues?
Well, as Ms. Murphy said, that the vote on Monday, June 16th, the vote is not the public, it's not a public vote, it's the vote of the commission.
Okay.
And it says that they're coming for our rural land. Nobody's coming for the rural land, that's why I made the note that it was the landowner's option. We're not taking land. The only people that have, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the eminent, because it makes it sound like it's eminent domain, or at least it did to me, that would have the eminent domain would be the town council, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I can speak to that. The flyer was developed in our group, but then between here and Hartford, different things came. It's not exactly the flyer that I put out. But anyways, I do believe people are coming for our land. And as I said, I don't think it's you guys. I think you guys are trying your best to keep the state laws from overwhelming us. But I definitely think people are coming for our land. There's a case of eminent domain in New Jersey right now where a farm of 120 acres is being taken over because of mandated laws coming from the state saying you have to have a certain amount of affordable housing. They don't have anywhere to put it. So they're trying to do eminent domain, and I think they're going to succeed with this farm.
Hi, I live 5 minutes in town.
Just name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Blaze Kessler, 82 Reynolds Street. I'm in favor of this change, though I'd like to see provisions made to encourage higher density development, not in rural areas to, take away, the rural character of the community, but more to have larger downtowns. And the benefit of having denser development is that when you have a denser area that people can live in, you don't need suburban sprawl to make up for that missing supply. Suburban sprawl happens when there is no allowance of dense development, and then for people to live somewhere, they have to build single-family housing out in what used to be farmland. another benefit to denser development is that it allows cities to have more revenue to improve services without increasing taxes, because if you have 5 people living in one building, you don't need to run more utilities out to the, I should have prepared something, but.
That's fine.
Yeah. Which also, I do have a question about that, because I've heard people mentioning that stuff about the sewers, and I'd just like to know, does this allow or not allow sewer lines to be run to developments that would be made under this?
The sewer is, I'm trying to remember what they used to call it.
We have a sewer moratorium in place right now.
There's a sewer moratorium currently, but the layout of the sewer is,
There's a sewer avoidance also.
right, there's a, where the sewer goes and gets extended to is an actual big deal between planning, zoning, town council, I think, and the sewer authority, so that's not an easy task to see it extended.
Right. But it doesn't prohibit, like, this would not prohibit that. The sewer moratorium is a separate thing entirely.
Oh, that's a separate thing entirely.
Yeah. Another thing, too, is that there is a housing crisis, across the country, because not enough houses are being built. And when houses are built, they are snatched up by investing companies like BlackRock to, try and profit off of a basic human need. And when more houses are built, you see less occurrences of things like homelessness, because when you make it easier for people to live in an area, less people become homeless because they can't afford to live there. So I'm in favor of this. I'd like to see denser development. I'd also like to see more. Yeah, I'd like to see more public transit, because if you do, because that will be needed to prevent clogged streets and all that. But this is a zoning meeting, not a public transit meeting. And that's all I have to say.
Thanks. Thank you. Anybody else? Somebody else.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Marcel Lucia, 29 Raymond Road in Dayville. I've been a resident of Kelly since 1960. In 1968, my wife and I decided to build a home before zoning came through. So we have a beautiful home, and one morning we heard a commotion going on next door. They were digging a foundation for another house. You know how close that house is to my house? 30 feet. Is this what we want in Killingly? I hope not, and I'm against it.
Kyle Shea, 195 Cook Hill Road, South Killingly. I'm curious, I actually have a question more than a statement. Is there a reason that the water and sewer was taken out? The requirement for water and sewer was taken out?
It was just.
And if not, can it be put back in? I guess
Well,
it's-
anything can be changed. It all can be changed. It's up to, hopefully we change with what.
Well, it's up to you guys. So I'm curious, is there a reason that water and sewer was taken out? Because I was thinking as I was reading this, geez, I wonder what the old one looks like. He came up with sewer and water, which is huge. As someone who grew up in Warwick, Rhode Island, I saw it change. And I don't want to see Killingly turn into Warwick. And the sewer, well, you shake your head and smirk. all
No,
you
I
want,
know.
But it's true.
I hate going to Warwick. I wouldn't
Right.
want to go to Rhode Island at
Right,
all.
right. Well, I spent 36 years living there, right?
Feel
And I
sorry
moved
for
here,
you.
I bought 6 acres, I built one house on it. And I think he's absolutely right. You're talking about taking sewer and water out of the requirements? That's a big problem, because I believe, like she said, with the technology of new septic systems coming in, you're gonna have multiple homes going into one system. And I understand Department of Health does a good job keeping stuff, being strict with all the requirements. But when new systems come along, And the Department of Health's not gonna be able to stop if it's an approved type system. So I guess, why has water and sewer been taken out of it? I understand you're trying to clean it up, you're trying to make this, I mean, even this, you read it, it's written by a lawyer. So does anybody have anything to say about why water and sewer was taken out?
The vote of the commission, that's all I can say.
So as the commission, can you put it back in?
Anything can happen, yeah.
Okay, anything can happen. I could hit the lottery too. Will it happen?
Time will tell. What do you want me to do? It's a vote of the commission, it's not just one individual.
Okay,
So
well-
it has to be presented, we discuss it, we make changes.
Somebody had the idea to take sewer and water out.
Right.
That didn't just fall off the page. Somebody made a decision, somebody made a conscious decision to take sewer and water out. And now you're sitting there pretty smug, I gotta tell you too.
Well, I apologize for being smug, but what I'm trying to do is listen, because we have to listen to you, and that's what we wanna do.
I'm sorry, we're burdening your time, you have to listen to us.
All I'm saying is, the whole idea of a public hearing is so that we listen and hear from you, and hopefully we'll take it in and make changes as the public wants. So if I'm looking smug, I apologize, but that's not my intent.
Well, the body language and the smirk.
Well, I'm
It's pretty
sorry.
fucking smug.
All right. Excuse me, but maybe somebody else wants to speak, because I think you should be done.
So, not gonna get an answer as to
No, because this
whose
isn't a
idea it
question and
was?
session. This isn't a question and answer session. We listen, and then we take and consider it.
Apologize for the F-bomb.
Hi, my name is Samantha St. Ange. I live at 89 Gear Road in Killingly. And I also don't have anything prepared, but I was made aware of this yesterday by my neighbor. And I've dealt with the commission before, and you've been great to work with. And I've also attended school committee meetings in this town. And I've seen a lot of good dialogue that happens in those meetings. And I do appreciate everything that you have to consider in these decisions. With that said, I do strongly disagree with this change. We have lived in several places, my husband and I, since we were young, and then we got married and started growing our family. And the reason why we left those places was for reasons like this. When we came to Killingly, we thought it was a gem. I still do. It's a wonderful town. I want to see it grow. I want to see business happen here. I want to see our schools improve. I want to stay here for the long run and also have my children stay here potentially in the future. I think that this opens up a lot of risk for the town to have some serious changes. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name's Kathy Mills. I live at 1206 Hartford Pike. And when I was listening to Ms. Aubrey, you make it sound very rosy. But I'm here for one reason. 4 houses, 4 residential on 1 acre. Rural land means wildlife, forest walks, discovery of their 4-year-old finding their first lady slipper. And in 1979, this P&Z, not you particularly, but allowed the filling of wetlands. In the morning, the fish were swimming, and by the afternoon, they were buried and dead. So now you want to start a precedent of destroying forest land. This is just plain greed. Now it was greed, and then it was greed. please don't let our P and Z look like our White House does right now. The decisions that are made for money only. People and wildlife matter in this quiet corner. We have a bobcat family with babies. We have a quiet bear, very quiet bear. Otters, birds one rarely sees. If you mess with this nature, you deprive all of them. It is not your right just because we are, by nature, greedy humans. Do the best thing for them and us and the future generations. You know, that criminals never thought 25 years ago that DNA would put them in prison. Well, 25 and 50 years from now, your great-granddaughter may have been saved with a rare mushroom, a rare plant not recognized as a cure. You voted to cement it over with roads and houses and destroy her only chance. Keep the woods and the forest for the future generations. Greedy developers will come and go. The forest will be gone forever if you start with this path. Thank you for listening, and that's it.
Hi, my name is Sandy Farrell. I live at 41 Peep Toad Road in East Killingley. I came here in 1972. I grew up in a town that was very much like this in Millbury, Mass. It was a mill town. I bought an abandoned mill because I heard it was sold for $1. And I didn't buy it for $1. But I've spent the last 53 years making it beautiful. And my first year, because I grew up in Millbury, Mass, and I saw that there was no zoning, I was a kid. I was 28 years old, and I went around to all the neighbors and I said, let's start zoning. So we did. And back in that day, because I am a potter, I am a lover of nature, I exist with 16 acres around me that I bought all the backland, even though the sewer line went through my property, so that I could preserve it. And the greatest thing for me and my partner, who I lost him to Alzheimer's, but we would look out the back window and see deer be born, and deer walk down the Whetstone Brook. And half the people in town will go with Donna, with the Conservation Commission, and take the bus by my property. And I take them out and show them everything that little old me, almost 80 years old, has done by myself. And so the appreciation that I have for this area is beyond anything anybody could feel. But way back, 53 years ago, when we established zoning, the whole idea was to make it work for everyone. All these things that you're working on, I applaud you. But we started with cluster zoning, so all the big things would happen in one area, so all the rural areas and the medium density areas would be protected. And I know that I have a question about the 4 houses. Back in the day, it was a house could be built every 50 feet on the sewer. Is that 4 houses on 1 acre more dense than that? It was a house on the sewer line. I mean, this was
A house,
way back.
so you're
before-
saying that the lot frontage would be 50 feet? And then the
Yes.
next lot would be 50 feet?
Yes.
Let me do some calculations.
Well, you don't have to figure it out now, but my point is,
Yeah, pretty much.
don't change it to be worse
Mhm.
than that. And then I see the idea of cluster zoning to have residential houses closer together. But because I'm an artist, forgive me, I might be off the wall here, but if you were to take an aerial view of all of Killingly, and you were to picture Westview as the big development, like you said you gave permission to, how many of those places would you like to have in the town? 4? How many Westviews would you like to have in the town? And look at the whole picture and just say, we will set aside these 4 areas and maybe make a new, instead of it being rural and medium and whatever, just where would we put a lot of houses together so there could be senior housing and there could be denser development, but and then, that's just a thought, okay? And then Westview, or any development like that, let's say you have 10 acres and you're putting 30 houses in 10 acres. I'm not proposing that, but if you do that, then why don't you have 10 acres surrounding it that are landscaped with trails and places for wildlife so that we preserve our quiet corner in the last green valley. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, my name's Gordon, 131 Slater Hill Road, Gordon Merkel, excuse me. I'm at an X too much, so I'm gonna be a little sporadic here. She did touch on, we are considered the last Green Valley corridor, heritage corridor. And we are the quiet corner. We're gonna change that. Just so I get it out first and foremost, no, I'm against the idea of having a special permit. I don't even want that on the table. I don't want a developer to be able to come here and go, we know we can get a special permit, we just need to get it passed. The other thing I found interesting that I just found out about was the town water and sewage. The fact that you could do the cart before the horse, put something there, and then we're gonna be mandated as a town to do that. They're gonna like, well, this was allowed, so you're gonna be mandated to put town water and sewage. Also, a representative did touch on, it's HB 5002. You might lose your right to regulate zoning because it's gonna come out of Hartford. So hopefully people ask our governor to veto no. What else we got? I do understand Deep did buy a big piece of property up on Bailey Hill Road. So it would be a majestic place for people to develop around there. So I know there's a long-term plan for housing. I understand we need housing, but a lot of generations have been here and it is a rural area, so I want to keep it that way. What else we got? And I do understand, landowners want to be able to use their land for what they want, but we do have a heritage here of having a rural area, and we came here for the rural area, and I want to keep it a rural area. I have 6.6 acres where I live, and there's big properties around me. I can just imagine all those developments right behind me. So it's very personal to me. And as far as the guy that said yes, you know, all right, I'll play a little politics here. We have some of those factories that have burnt down or fell down. Why don't we develop them? If they want the high density, put it there. Make it a mandate to use that building that fell down in the middle of town. That's a huge piece of property there. The developer wants it, give it to them, let them develop it, put the low density there. I mean, I know we're gonna be mandated by the state at some point, and we're gonna have either to sue or fight that, so at least put that as an option. But I am against the low density in the rural area. Thank you.
Jason Anderson, Lake Road, Dayville. Can you tell me if the sewer gets expanded into a rural area, does it get rezoned and become low density at that point?
Not necessarily, no.
That was a question I had posed to me earlier, and I didn't have the answer for it. Thank you. I ask you to remove planned rural developments from low density, or at a minimum, keep the current regulation of 5 units per acre. I also ask you to keep lot coverage percentages at current regulation levels. Our previous town manager told the town council during a council meeting that our POCD and current regulations regarding utility requirements prevented sprawl into the less dense areas of town, and we didn't have to worry about Killenly losing its rural nature. I will quote some of what she said. Our sewer system only goes so far. Why? Because we want to have a very rural characteristic. She also went on to say, it's very clear in our POCD, don't expand the sewer system. You can't have higher density housing without a sanitary sewer system. Unfortunately, looking at the text changes, I believe that nullifies what our previous town manager had told the council when the council had raised concerns to the town manager over overdevelopment of the area. One thing I've heard from my constituents is they love the rural nature of Killenly. They don't want it to change. Keep the rural nature the way it is. I understand there's a need for housing, and the council completely understands that as well. The town council took steps with the Blueville Mill to move forward to try and develop that. Unfortunately, there was a fire there, and that killed that plan. The council will continue, as long as I'm on it, to go forward and try and find ways to bring housing that we need into areas closer to the high-density areas. As it was brought up earlier, there are concerns on dropping a large development out in the rural area of town. How are people going to get transportation? One thing that was talked about on the council level, when we start looking into bringing in housing developments, you want them close to where public transportation is. There is a need for employees in the industrial park. We understand that. We understand the need for housing. I just feel that the changes to the text are not in the best interest of keeping the rural areas of Killenly rural. I also ask you to please keep the text from 570.5.12 utility requirements for PRD, IRL, and RLCC in your regulations. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ellen Botello, B-O-T-E-L-H-O, 123 Bear Hill Road. I'm another Rhode Island transplant. I grew up in Portsmouth, which was highly developed. It used to be rural, and you can't get around there anymore. And only the very rich can afford to live there. And then Coventry, Rhode Island, where my husband and I raised our 2 kids, and that also got overdeveloped. And when we go back to the dentist's office now, it's a good hour just to drive around. It's very overdeveloped. Taxes got to be crazy. When we found this house here, it was like a dream come true for us. For the price of our house on a postage stamp in Coventry, we got 2¼ acres. You can hear everything. You can hear the birds chirping. At night, it's peaceful. You hear the crickets. It's quiet. It is the quiet corner. It's beautiful. I love this place. I'm dead set against this change. And I don't, for the life of me, after I watched my neighborhood in Portsmouth get developed back in the 70s, and it used to be rural, I don't understand how 4 houses per acre is still rural. That's a stretch. That's a real stretch. Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name's Emily Merkel. I live at 131 Slater Hill Road, and I am adamantly against this. We're called the Quiet Corner for a reason. I work in Worcester. I drive 500 miles a week to go to work 5 days a week. I come home to peace and quiet and woods. I can take my dog for a walk. Our kids can ride their bikes without over traffic on the street and having to worry about that. More housing means more people. So to me, that means more police, more fire, more emergency medical services, a strain on our schools, which quite frankly are already really struggling. There's no reason for this. And ma'am, you in the purple, who was so, excuse me, in the purple, who was so quick to go, it's just an option. Then take it out. It's just an option, then we don't need it. You said this has, without this, it has been since 2017, and there hasn't been an issue. You were able to build your elderly housing, which I agree with. My mother's elderly. I would love for her to be in Westview when she gets to that point. But if it's just an option, and you all say that, so, I don't want to say all of you because I don't know if you're all for this, and you say it so easily that it's just an option, then take the option and take it out. No one wants it. Sir, do you have land? Do you own land?
It's not a question and answer session, so.
You can't even be honest. What is the point of this?
To listen so that we can make better decisions on what we're doing.
I hope you make a decision for your neighbors and your kids and your school system. Who's going to pay for more police? Who's going to pay for more EMTs that make $18 an hour? More people require all of that. More road repairs because there'll be more cars. Who's going to pay for all of that? It's the quiet corner. It's the Green Valley. My God, please keep it that way.
Hi, I'm Charlie Myers, 28 Pond Road. I came from Rhode Island. I built my custom home, designed and built on Pond Road. I started it, God help me, during COVID, so that was a real challenge. But I came from Coventry. I was a lifelong resident. I lived in Western Coventry, which was very rural. The state came up with their minimum housing, and Coventry did not go in the direction that they should have. They were very much similar to this, where they changed zoning a little bit. And it's like, oh, it won't be a problem, it won't be a problem. And then Purcern Brothers came in and put in a massive development in the center of town, Purcern. They were quarter-acre lots. They're all on top of each other, and it destroyed the center of Coventry. They kept the rural areas way out on the Connecticut border to 5 acres, and they made 2-acre areas. But this one sweetheart little deal, that's all it took, was annihilated it, and it doubled the capacity of the schools. And I have another thing. I've been in construction and in development myself. If there's money in it, they will come and they will abuse whatever you allow them to abuse. They will take you to the bank. Thafford Industries in Massachusetts, if you'd like to really look what somebody with money can do, he was a flyover CEO. So he went in and he said, oh, your only objection is because you don't have the fire and schools and police. That's the only objection to my multi-unit development, and they said yes. So he had his lawyers draw 'em up, and they put an addition on the school, doubled the size of the police station, doubled the size of the fire department, and equipped it, and then built an unbelievable mess and destroyed the characteristics of this town. Once you start down that road, it doesn't go back. You can't undo it, you can't unwish it, you can't change it. Once it's annihilated, it's gone. The young man mentioned BlackRock. Yes, BlackRock really doesn't buy new housing. They are buying used homes that someone sells, they fix it up and they rent it. And they fix the rents, and that's what they do. And that's never been done before, where it's a publicly traded investment property and you can buy stock in it, and they're gonna just keep looking for people that sell their house and take it over, and that's why there's a shortage. It's one of the many reasons. The other is we got a lot of other people coming into the country, and they need emergency housing as well, and we don't have enough housing. But attacking it at this point in this area, again, when I moved here, this town is a dream come true. Again, we have a deer and a fawn right in my backyard, all sorts of other critters and things which I grew up with and then were completely gone before I turned 18 and went on my own way. So I'm begging you, please, take that option out, because I know about the new septic systems. I've seen them go in on places where you could never build before, on Warwick Cove, on Wickford in Rhode Island, that they've got new multi-flushing, they percolate the things and then flush them, so you can put a lot of them. In Burrville, they've got a high-density development there where they're all connected to one sewer with this burper so that they could get it closer to the water lines, the wetlands. So there's a lot of things that you might not be up on. I'm on Read Builders Magazine. I teach construction. I'm up on a lot of the new developments. If you leave them a tiny sliver, an opening, and they're gonna make $1 million on it, believe me, they're gonna bury this town. So I just beg you to keep that in mind. I strongly oppose putting 4 per lot, 4 per acre. That's essentially what happened in Coventry. And oh, and by the way, the taxes doubled in roughly 5.5 years we were there. The taxes for the 3-bedroom colonial that I lived in, 4-bedroom colonial that I built, was $1,000 a month right now. $1,000 a month. Yeah, and it's coming. So I just strongly urge you to not do this. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hello, I'm Judith Peterson. I live on 25 Stern Street, Danielson, and I just recently became aware of this, and I have become so knowledgeable from so many people here explaining to my brain, and from you as well, on what is truly going on here. And it's sad. It's sad. I don't know any other word of saying it's sad. So I listened to this woman here who's on your commission, I guess that's what it's called. And I listened to Ann. Thank you, Ann, for all of your support in our town. And Michelle, and you, sir. I've met you a few times. So knowledgeable. The majority of the people are speaking here, and they don't want what you're putting forward. And from what I'm understanding, you, this little tiny group of the thousands of people who live in our town, this little tiny group here is the one who's going to make a major decision. So I'm just asking you to seriously consider everything that has been stated to you, to all of you. And I don't know, I was in the corridor, so thank you, Ann, for what you said, because I was going to address it. I don't know which gentleman chastised us because we weren't knowledgeable or we didn't come to these meetings. Let me tell you, it's not easy to know about these meetings unless I'm actively seeking out your website. And even on your website, I got to search to find if there's something going on. So it's not easy to know. I'm just saying it's not. And a friend of mine is on the school board, and even his meetings, I'm unaware. So I'm grateful to know a little more when I do find out, because my husband and myself, we do come to the meetings at times when we know. We do come to the town meetings. We do vote. We vote every time. Thank you, God, for the availability to vote. And I vote. But I'm asking you to search your conscience and really, truly ponder what every single person here said, because every single person voiced a very important concern. And this woman here, who's on your council, obviously knows a little bit more. I was reading this booklet, this jargon. I'm not illiterate, but it's jargon. Nothing's clear-cut, concise for your average person like me to read, to understand. It's gobbledygook. If you want your friends and neighbors to truly understand what you're putting forward, then make it a little clearer. But it's obviously the people who have been able to read this information prior to today. I'm so thankful that they've voiced the concerns that they voice. Thank you for that. Thank you. And I'm just asking you truly, if this is what I'm understanding, this is the group that's making this decision to leave this in or take it out, we're all making it known to you, other than that young man, to please take it out. This is a town. It's not the city of Hartford. It's a town. And I'm another Rhode Islander. I moved here in 2005 to Woodstock. And then I moved here to Danielson about 7 years ago. And I love this area. I love the green. I love I love it all. And I even love our little downtown. It's so quaint. I'm just asking truly, and sir, if it seems like you're the head person there, I'm not sure. It's funny how people asking you, we're your neighbors. We're not just the townspeople, we're your neighbors. And when we're asking you a sincere question, I don't see any harm of you answering it, but that's okay. I thank you for hearing me. I'm against this. And I really pray that you seek your conscience when you vote, and you truly listen to what people have said. Thank you.
Diane Suma, 3 Weeks Lane, Dayville. I have to follow this lady because she talked about the fact of the being chastised. Well, I've served on boards before. I've served in Killingly on the Board of Ed. I moved to Moosup 5 years ago, but now have come back to Killingly. Served on the Planning and Zoning. Served on the Board of Ed. When you sit in those chairs, you don't chastise the audience. I went on the website, searched for planning and zoning. It's very difficult to find what we were looking for tonight. you list 3 things, they're all numbers. You have to click on, you have to go through the whole explanation. It is not easy. And how many of us every day go on the website to find out what is happening with either P&Z or any other commission? We don't have the time. In other towns, on the Shopper's Guide and Turnpike Buyer, they spend a little bit of money and they note in there what is happening with planning and zoning. And it'll be very specific as to what is on the agenda. I would just make a recommendation. If you want people to come and participate, then you should do something like that. And that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, Frank Alleman, 30 Saunders Road on Dayville. 3 points, very quick. 1, you had a lot of suggestions made to you tonight. I understand totally that you cannot make those decisions now. 2, this document you handed out and the others that were all discussed previously, if you expect the audience to have read through and understand what's in them, forget it. It doesn't work that way. So, you have to please explain after I finish talking to the audience how they can get their comments in, give them a week to read it, and get back to you in easy fashion that you can accept those comments. Therefore, 3, you need to call another meeting in which you present all the changes that you have made that we don't know about yet, and then perhaps have a vote. And by the way, you better advertise this well, that the entire town knows what you are bringing up, and that it's not something that you present here and say, here's 20 pages, read them, we're going to vote on them tonight. That's not the way it works. There have been comments in the past from various areas that Killingly is fairly deficient in telling everybody what's going on in town. Nobody seems to know. They refer to websites, they refer to Facebook and all the rest of it. But something very interesting, until about 3 to 4 weeks ago, there was a list in the newspaper of all the meetings that were going to be held. I haven't seen it for the last 3 to 4 weeks. At least then we used to know what meetings were coming up. That's gone. This is not just your responsibility, it's the town's responsibility, the council and others. You better make sure that you're speaking to the people, because right now, nobody hears anything or knows what's going on. That's why they don't attend meetings. Thank you. Oh, by the way, please tell people now how they can communicate with you about this so that you can take it into account. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak?
Everyone, good evening. I'm Robert Mata. I live at 251 Kuma Hill Road in Dayville. I moved here in 2006. The house was a brand new construction. I'm, like many of others, are a Rhode Island transplant. I literally came from my parents' bedroom to the house I'm at. So I have no other experience but living here in town of Killingly. Over the years, you could tell that since where I've lived, more homes are getting built around my area, where there's Cranberry Bog or Bailey Hill. And it's already at a point where it's starting to get worrisome. And now we're talking about something like this, and I don't think it's a really good idea. My wife I got divorced, but in 2017, my current wife, she lived in Danielson on Main Street. She always said that when she bought her house then, Main Street was very quiet. Now, I don't remember that. That's a little bit, I guess, sometime before the Killing Commons was built. So she's seen quite a change there. Now, since she's been moved in with me in 2016 or so, Coomer Hill has been a massive cut through. So I could just see more and more people coming in. That would just get a lot worse. But she also described to me too, because she came from Peabody, Mass, and her mom's in Middleton, Mass. And her grandparents bought that house however long ago in the 60s. And since the 60s to now, what we're going through is what they already did years ago. And now their version of Main Street is no longer a nice quiet road. It's built up, and now it's traffic, like we're seeing. And she's afraid that that's gonna happen here in our area. Now, like I said, I've been here since 2006. I finally became a dad in 2019. My son's gonna be going to first grade this coming school year in the fall, and I'd like to see him grow up in the nice quiet corner that I moved here from in 2006. And I just hope you guys make the right decision, since there's great points that everyone's been bringing up to the table. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else?
I just want to say a quick thing about Ed. Sorry, I bumped him out. I thought I should, because we sent the flyer, and he's a great counselor and a great person, and I'm very happy to see him back. And so if people know I bumped him out because he's my buddy, and I knew he wouldn't mind.
Hey, Blaze Kessler, 82 Reynolds. Yeah, I did just have one more question. For the 4 dwelling units in rural zones and more, would those be required to be in like one building, or could a developer make it in separate, individual houses? I wasn't entirely sure about that when I read this paper.
What? I want you to take it.
It again would depend on the parcel of land and how they're planning on development. We have had people come through. The Valley View is duplexes. It's side-by-side townhouses, okay? We've had other areas where they are individual, but they're very small units. Again, it depends on the site plan. It depends on what goes through. Staff has been trying to, we've got somebody on the line, and we will take them right after we get done with the current speaker. It depends on, again, the property. We had someone who wanted to do a development, and when they showed all these particular houses and whatever, and we were like, they just gave us little squares, and we said, do you plan on putting decks on? They said yes. And when we measured it out, we said, you're gonna have a boardwalk between the houses. And we said that would not be allowed. So then they drastically cut back the number, and they cut back the units.
Okay. Yeah, because one thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see suburban developments eating up rural land. I ever want to see, dense urban areas and have sparse rural areas. I don't want to see suburbs just going out for miles and miles. And I think nobody here wants that either. That's all.
Anybody else?
Can I try to, we have someone on the phone that's from 860, and then it says 3, and the last two digits of the number are 30, or excuse me, 03. Do you have something to say?
Yes, I do. Jason Anderson, 125 Lake Road. I apologize. There's one thing I wanted to add about the utilities. I know planning and zoning was spoke before about if they were to do satellite sewers, anything would have to be approved by NVDH. I just wanted to add one thing. My house was built in 1996. The health district approved the septic system. A year and a half later, it failed. So just because the Board of Health approved the septic system doesn't mean that the system's actually gonna work. A situation like that, if you've got a satellite sewer and it were to fail, then you're looking at affecting more than just one homeowner. You could be affecting anywhere from 30 to 40 units all at once. So again, I stand by, asking you to put the sewer and utility requirements, keep them the same as they are for PRD, and the other two, developments. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
John, you made a comment about nobody was coming to the meetings and expressing concerns. Well,
I didn't say nobody.
I was here a year ago. I was here. Michelle was here. John LaBelle was here. I got chastised for interfering with the workshop. The town manager told me this is not the place to be, that we will have a public hearing at the end, and that is the time to express my views. I don't know, not this guy, but one of the other attorneys had the same thing. In workshops, we don't want the public participation because we get nothing done.
I never heard that.
Well, that's what happened to me. So I was here and, trying to bring this about, and I kind of got, and I don't mind someone ruffling. I'm used to it. But you take these people, if they get anything like that, they're going to run away. So I'm very disgusted with a lot of things that have gone on in town. Some of the things that I was treated, stay away. You can come to the public hearing and do what you have to do. Now, given that we want to have housing, Jill's got a lot of projects in the works. Trouble is, it's tied to EPA money, DEP money. There's a lot of strings attached. You guys got to get in bed with her to make that happen. Then we wouldn't have to have so much pressure on some of this other stuff so we can get some of this rural development. So these are out in the boonies, because if you look at Blueville Mill, if you look at Bailey Hill Mill, those are out in rural areas. But they are serviced by the sewer, and they can handle all of this stuff. So, I try to come, I try to participate, and if you don't want me part of it, I'm sorry.
Could I respond to him?
No.
No? All right.
Okay, anybody else want to speak?
Marcel Lucia, 29 Meeman Road. Whose idea was it tonight to have the meeting here? Why couldn't the meeting be held at the high school so more people could sit down and enjoy this meeting? People are in the hallway, people are leaving because they're getting disgusted. So I hope the next meeting's at the high school. Thank you.
Anybody else? None?
I just want to suggest that the board consider, there has been some suggestions made, there have been repetitive suggestions made. So I want to ask the town council or the town's attorney, would it be your suggestion to leave the public hearing open or to just continue our deliberations on another date?
I would say that since one of the gentlemen, not from Rhode Island, indicated that he wanted people to have an opportunity to read things and provide additional comments, that it probably makes sense to keep the hearing open, so that if there are additional comments when people have had a chance to read things, that they can either submit it in writing ahead of time or come and speak to you.
I want to make one more statement. If anybody has an issue with trying to find anything on the website, feel free to call me or call the Planning and Development Office. The telephone number is 860-779-5311. We have walked people through the process, and also if you still have a problem finding things on the computer, please feel free to come in, and we're more than willing to give you a copy of the proposed regulations.
Anybody else want to speak at this time? Anybody? Anybody in the hallway out there? No? Okay, it's been suggested that we table this. And somebody want to make that motion?
Make a motion to continue the public hearing to the July 21st, right? July 21st meeting?
That would be July 21st, yes.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion?
Is it gonna be here unless you specify otherwise?
This is our usual meeting place. We would have to verify if we have room available at the high school for that date. Off the top of my head, I don't think that there would be a problem with that, but I do not know what the summer schedule for the school is. But again, this is all, we put all our legal notifications per state statute in the newspaper. The Norwich Bulletin. Can you explain what the state requires?
They publish in a newspaper with substantial circulation in the town.
And the state does not recognize the Shopper's Guide as a newspaper with substantial substantial circulation.
But Anne Marie, how come other towns can do it?
They're risking it. I have always been, it's supposed to be in a newspaper.
The problem a lot of people have run into with the Villager is that if you miss it by a day, you miss it by a month.
And usually, the way I do it is I send it out to the Norwich Bulletin, and I try to get it in for the 2 Mondays previous to this. So it was last week on the 9th, and the week before that on the 6th. The budget doesn't allow me to do multiple advertisements. I have to, excuse me?
Assume it's gonna be here unless it's posted otherwise on the town website.
Again, anybody can feel free to call up the office. We will let you know. You're gonna have to give me at least a week before, and we will advertise it. We will continue, saying that it's continued. And then if the location changes, we may have to put it into that. But I will try to get the location defined before we have to put in the advertisement.
I had a few things I wanted to say. One is, the substantial circulation in town. I mean, you drive around now and you look at how many Norwich Bulletin boxes are in the end of people's driveways. It's nothing like it used to be. I don't know anyone that reads it. I'm sure there's people that read it, but you know, the Villager is free. And I don't know about advertisements, but I've sent in several letters to the editor, and as long as you get in before, what is it, noon on Tuesday, it's going in that edition. So, you know, I don't know if the advertisements are the same as the letters to the editor, but they're very good about getting your letters out there on time. The other thing I want to say is, you know, the reason that the meetings are held, you know, I'm new to this commission, and I'm just an alternate, but, you know, there was nothing devious in holding the meetings here. They were always held here, and usually there's no more than a handful of people from the public attending the meeting, so it makes sense to have it here. It's more convenient, I think, for the public to come here, except when, like nights like tonight, when you have so many people that want to be at the meeting and want to speak. So that's the deal there. And I have a question. Would it make sense to make motions now to vote on some of the proposals that were suggested? Can't do that? We just extend?
Public hearing's still open.
Okay.
If we vote to keep it open, but it's still a public hearing process right now.
Yeah, we'd have to close the public hearing and then vote on it, and then from there decide whether to have more meetings, what to do, you know, how to proceed.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's all up to votes and motions.
Okay, so we're,
we have a
I
motion and a
just want to
second.
make things clarified for the public. At the suggestion of legal counsel, a motion was made to continue the hearing, which means that when we meet on July 12th, the public can still
21st.
speak. However, if someone has particular comments or, and I'm going to try to put everything in a outline for the commission members, that changes. I got the changes about the utilities. I got the changes about not putting in the rural development. There was one other change that I had that I can't think of off the top of my head. But if anybody else has any editorial comments, that's how I'm going to put it. Again, please put it into, there is an email on the agenda, and it goes for public comments. And it goes public comment at killenlyct.gov, or you can send it directly to, you can just bring it into the Planning and Development Office. You know, and what I would like to do is I would like to have those into the office at least 1 week before our next meeting. The next meeting, as we said, is July 21st. So I would like to have those into the office by Monday, July 14th, because that will give me time to compile them all. And I can talk it over with the attorney before we continue on our public hearing on the 21st.
But you can still bring your comments up to the 21st.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Comments, you can bring in your comments, you can write something out, you can still state something because the public hearing is still open.
Any more other comments? Any other discussion? What's that, vote?
Mm-hmm.
We have a vote on that?
No, we have a motion pending. We have a motion pending to continue the public hearing, so, yeah, sorry.
Ann Dauphiné, 204 Wright Road. I just wanted to get some clarification for going forward. So many of the people were here tonight and spoke out. I wondered if that'll be taken in consideration at the next meeting, because in case they can't come, or they're on vacation, or there's another meeting, a conflict, I don't want what they said to be
It's all
dismissed.
written down and.
I've been
okay.
taking notes, he's been taking notes,
Okay.
she's been taking notes.
Just clarifying. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, that's what it's all about, the public hearing. So, okay, so, no more discussion? We're gonna have a vote. All in favor of continuing? What are you looking at me for?
I didn't know if you were going to roll call it out.
I'll
in favor
do
say
roll
aye,
call,
Brady?
be
No, you
safe.
don't have to.
Was there a second on that?
Yes.
I second.
John seconded. Brian made the motion, John seconded.
Brian Card?
Yes.
John Sarantopoulos?
Yes.
Norm Farren?
Yes.
Keith Thurman?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
So it's continued to July 21st. And at this point, it'll be here until, well, unless they post it someplace else, it looks like we get it that many people.
We still have one more public hearing, so.
Let's pull a chair up to the table.
Doesn't sound like there's anybody left there.
I'm sorry?
Doesn't sound like there's anybody left.
Oh, there. All first and second cousins, they still live in the same town.
Yeah, right. Oh, I get what you're saying.
Oh. How are you guys? That was long.
Okay. For the record, mention your name again.
Ilianacios?
So we've got some information.
Yes,
You wanna
he
go over
sent,
with them?
okay. You should have on your desk a memorandum from our town engineer, David Cap. And then attached to that, there is his drawing of that room, which is 32 by 32. David Cap and I went out to the site to take a site visit on June 6th. Yeah, I'm trying to read the schedule from here. Friday, June 6th. And we did find, it would be basically, he's using a hose that comes out of he has two hoses that come out of the wall. The biggest concern that David had, which was in his memorandum to you, was the concern about the wastewater. We did call, he did call Deep. Deep did, and again, it's all explained to him in his original memorandum to you, that there may be concerns about the fact the way the wastewater was being disposed of, and that it was going into, eventually somewhere along the line, the Quinnebog River, which was a hard to, a disturbed river, so to say. So then Dave heard back from Deep this morning, and the concern was the type of soap that he would be using. Now, if he could find a soap that did not contain sulfates, sulfates? Phosphorus.
Phosphorus.
That, then Deep said that they would have no concern. David would have no concern. We could make it a condition of the approval, because the amount that would be, the amount of water that would be released would be minimum.
So just for records, does Dave, who did Dave talk to, I guess, at Deep, or just, did we get anything from Deep? Because my research on their website, the general permit Dave referenced, I found it's been discontinued, right? And it was rolled into what's called the, crap, where is it? It's now under the miscellaneous industrial users general permit. And there's a section there for vehicle maintenance wastewater. And my read of that permit is that any discharge must be connected to a sewer or a holding tank, and not allowed to go to any stormwater system. So I was hoping Dave would be here to answer that, but
Unfortunately, he's not here.
no, I know.
I believe he thought that this would, his second memo would handle the situation for you, or to answer the question.
The one on the soap?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it didn't say anything about the soap type, it just said no.
Okay. What was
And
the
there-
one that you, what was the one that you saw, the,
It's now under the miscellaneous industrial users general permit. That the general permit for discharge of vehicle maintenance wastewater was expired 1/23/21. And it was
Okay.
rolled into the miscellaneous industrial users general permit, and I believe it was like section K of appendix, I forget what the appendix was now. But, again, I have concern about it going to the stormwater, given what I found. Now, again, that's all I was relying on Dave, but I just have a difference of what he found and what I found. So,
I mean, from what I understand, I spoke to him this morning, Dave, and he said, because of such little water usage, he did speak to someone there, and if it was very busy, you know, something about an oil separator was.
it does fall under what's classified as a low user, like less than 10 cars per day, less than so many gallons. And again, under that general permit that I read, yes, you would not even have to have an oil wash separator.
Right.
Right? But what they put in was due to the chemicals you're using where it's going, that you would require to have an oil. I just don't see it in the rule.
You can talk to Dave, but
Yeah.
or maybe make a condition that if Dave is correct, but he did say, and these are phosphorus free, these soaps are, you know, it says it right here, it's Palmolive in this, and that's all I would use, you know, I wouldn't use any other fancy soaps, and Palmolive in these, but if you read the back, and you can Google it, I Googled it, and if you Google the soaps that are phosphorus free are Palmolive, and there's Dawn, and there's a few of them, and I would just use Palmolive and Dawn, but it is, you can Google them, and there's many soaps that are basically organic, and so I wouldn't use that hard chemical. And Dave came out, and they came out, and we hosed down a car, and I showed it how one car at a time, and these cars are hand washed, and they take a while. It's not gonna be like pouring water. So how many can you actually do? If you do one an hour, it's only a 2-bay. So if you do wash it, and I hosed it all down, and I showed them, Dave was there, and Anne Marie was there, and I even squeegeed it out. I even squeegeed the water out the garage. And by the time it even reached the pavement, it was like you spit on the pavement. That's how much little it was. So, and there's no way it's gonna go all the way down and then down to the sewage. And then if I use that kind of soap, Dave said we shouldn't have a problem, there's a solution. So you can talk with Dave, it's, you know, I don't know nothing about this stuff, I'm just learning this stuff.
it would be up to the commission, you could continue and ask Dave to be here on July 12th,
21st.
21st, excuse me.
I have a plane, I'm flying out to Greece for 3 weeks on the 21st. I won't be. And I'm already in 3 months deep, and I'm just trying to get a little car wash, and if I knew it was gonna be so difficult, but I can't, I'm already paying the rent already all these months, and I'm trying to clean it up, and I was gonna seal the outside too, I was gonna seal it nice, but I put the brakes on, I said, I'm not.
So is the water the only issue on this,
That's it.
or is there other issues?
No, the water's the, well,
Water to soap?
water via the soap is the
Right.
issues.
Soap.
So is it possible to do a conditional,
That's what I was just asking our
and then
attorney.
he, work it out with staff, and if it's needed to be water separated, then it becomes a requirement, and if it's not, then we can do it as David suggests.
Maybe if you get.
Yeah, I think that works. I mean, just put it in as a condition that if a separator or some other treatment is required by DEEP, that he amend the site plan to show it.
And if not, and I can get away with using that soap, phosphorus-free, maybe if that's okay, then I should be good without the separator. Because, I mean, I'm not gonna make enough money to pay $30,000 to put a separator in.
No, I understand that, but I mean, if it turns out that something's required by DEEP,
Oh, absolutely,
the commission
absolutely.
can't say,
Oh, no,
don't do it.
No,
So-
absolutely. I'm just trying to do a little simple business, clean operation. If it is what it is, and an oil separator has to be put in, I spoke to the owners, and, they will release me from the lease, and I'll walk, and he can put a mechanic in there. I can't go paying 30, 40 grand for an oil separator. Not that it's your problem, but it's just, too much,
I could, if you do a conditional approval, I can have Dave write something to the commission tomorrow. I can figure out who he's talked to. And I can even ask him, because I wrote down what Brian said, industrial listers.
Miscellaneous industrial user, general permit.
Okay.
Does that mean
I
you
can
can
have
start
him check.
operations?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like we basically give them the okay based on, Dave Cap and staff making sure that they meet the conditions of our concerns, which are the water, the discharge of the water and the soaps. And
Okay.
so, work it out and move forward. You know, since, you know.
I can double check with Dave tomorrow, and we can, again, I have no problems asking him for another memorandum to put into the file.
Okay, is there anything else on this issue, other issues at all?
No. It's very,
No, Norm, anything, no. John?
No.
Brian?
I got no other issues. I mean, that's the main big one, so I just.
Okay, then, anybody else wanna add anything else to this application? Anybody from the public? Anything you wanna add?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh. No, I would just appreciate if you guys could
Okay.
make some, like, contingency if Dave and Anne Marie are happy with using this soap.
So we're gonna close the public hearing, and then we'll move on to the voting portion of the meeting, which will take the other.
Just a quick
go ahead.
question. Does the sewer moratorium have any prohibitions against any additional, if you had to put a tank in on this lot, does the sewer moratorium have any prohibitions of that tank being pumped and hauled?
The sewer, the town sewer?
Yeah.
I do
No,
not.
because they can discharge that, they're still pumping, and they can go to, they have other places to dump besides the town
Okay,
of Killenly.
sure,
Somebody can-
never mind, okay, true.
All right,
Okay,
so you're making.
so everybody, one more chance for everybody to speak, to say anything. I'll make sure everybody has the opportunity to speak. No, okay.
Well,
So,
The
go
only
ahead.
thing I'll say is I'm, again, because there's no, we're unsure of the sewer and what needs to happen related to it, I'm uncomfortable approving it with that condition, but if we're gonna go that route. It's just a big open-ended question for me. And, you know,
Well, I hope you can count on staff to handle it, that's what I mean, that is the issue.
And that's, and, you know, Dave may, you know, I don't know, Dave may say, yes, we did consider this, and there's not an issue.
Right.
And if that's the case, there would not be a problem if I sent, like, if I got a memorandum from Dave and then I sent it out to my commission members just to make them feel at ease. Would that be a problem?
No, that would be answering commissioner questions from the staff.
All right, if there's no more questions, I'm assuming.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
So just to Brian's point, so, we're not gonna actually approve the operation to proceed until we're sure that we're okay with D, right?
Under this pretense, we would just approve it to move forward to the staff, and just make sure the staff makes sure that they are meeting the concerns of the commission, which is with the water, the discharge of the water and the soaps.
yeah, so you're approving the use subject to the condition that the applicant receives the proper permitting from DEEP related to this, related to his wastewater discharge.
Okay.
Right.
And that could be a general
If
permit.
he doesn't get it, he can't move forward.
Right.
So we're just,
Okay.
instead of making him wait a whole month for another,
I appreciate that, it's fair enough.
okay?
Yep.
All right, so then, we haven't made any motions yet, right? Okay, so somebody wanna make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by John. Any further discussion? John? Brian?
Nope.
Norm? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? None. Okay. So we're gonna vote on this in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, that just closes the public hearing.
What's actually next?
Huh?
It's actually next.
Is it next?
'Cause-
It's next.
I'll sit right here.
Because
Okay.
now he's back to number one.
All right, special permit, unfinished business, special permit, application 251348, B&B Car Wash, 543 Warrigan Road, GIS map 262, lot 20, 2.1 acres, general commercial hand wash, car wash, in the 2 bays of the north side of the building. Somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it contingent on,
Verification from the
Approvals
town
from-
engineer with regards to
Yes.
the
DEP
miscellaneous
approval.
industrial uses general permit section.
exactly.
Okay, a second. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
So John makes the motion, Norm makes the second. Any further discussion? You all set? Okay, roll call, please.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Norm Farren.
Yes.
Brian Card.
Yes.
Keith Thurlow.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. You're good.
It's good. I have to check with Dave to make sure that he went through this miscellaneous industrial users permit K. And then we'll get back to you. Can he have his soap?
That's a couple of washes right there.
Okay, zone text change application, Town of Killenly Planning and Zoning Commission, section 470, site plan review of the Town of Killenly zoning regulation. We have to set a date if we approve it. Have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve zone text change application, on the right one, 1352, right? Section 470, site plan review, effective date July 21st, 2025, 12:01 a.m.
Second.
Second? John Sarantopoulos, on a second. Any further discussion?
My only discussion points, I believe this one and potentially the next one are standalone, and we made them that way. So again,
Yeah.
these are upgrades, so if we do move forward with this and approve it, there should be no issues, because these are standalone sections. So,
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
John, any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Norm Farren.
Yes.
Brian Card.
yes.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Keith Thurlow.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, text change, 251353, Town of Killenly zoning commission, rewrite of section 700, special permits of the Town of Killenly zoning regulations.
I'll make a motion to approve 251353, section 700, special permits. I should have added with the minor typos, and then it's same thing on the last one that we had, the little Scribner notes, whatever they were.
Second,
July 21st, 2025, 12:01 a.m.
Second.
was that included on the first one?
The date,
Yeah.
not the Scribner piece, I'm just kind of.
No, but the date.
The date, yes, the date. I had the date, not the Scribner piece.
John made a second?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was the Scribner piece, the two edits we had. Yep.
Oh, you're good. All right, second by John. Any further discussion on special permits? John?
No.
Brian?
Nope.
Okay, roll call, please.
Does you have any further questions?
No, I asked.
No,
him.
I'm good.
I asked him.
Brian Card.
Yes.
John Sarantopoulos.
Yes.
Norm Farren.
Yes.
Keith Thurlow.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Text change application 251354.
Residential, that was continued.
Give me a chance to at least say it, okay? I'm under all kinds of duress and stress here tonight because I've made funny faces. Now you lost me all over the place.
New business.
Yeah, that's all continued. Okay, new business, zone map change 251355. Gillen, Leroy, 3 Woodstock Avenue, 877 North Main Street, GIS map 154, lot 6. 3.8 acres, medium density, a portion of 889 North Main Street, Royal Realty Trust landowner. GIS map 154, lot 7, medium density area to change 887 North Main and a portion of 889 North Main from medium density to general commercial. Receive and schedule for a public hearing July 21st. Anything you want to add?
I just have a very quick copy of the map, so you can see it and you can schedule it.
Very cold.
Well, it has all our zones on it. We'll get it all.
This is normally when Mr. Slater runs out. This is normally when Mr. Slater runs out.
He's like, you need me?
I applaud you for sitting there.
Emery, where is that? I've not seen where it is.
That's
You know where the old Fox Fuel is,
Yeah.
which has been renovated?
The what?
Fox Fuel, it's
No.
a gas station. Do you know?
It's
That's
Mhm.
near. One house there. There's one house and it's open. but
Next to
it's the one-
Davis? Next to Davis Oil, or?
You're where the bulk water is.
It's right by the drive-in, just south of the
Yeah,
drive-in.
that's right.
Just
across
south of the drive-in.
There's the
The-
drive-in. Then there's the trucking company, which is his next door neighbor.
Davis
Then there's,
Oil, yeah.
and then there's this, and then there's, the old Fox Fuels, which was an old
Yeah,
gas
okay,
station.
okay. That's what I thought. I'm making sure. Is it the Fox Fuel property?
No, it's next door to the Fox Fuels property.
Okay.
And Ula was correct, there's a house there, he used to have like a constant yard sale in the front yard. And we used to have to remind him to clean it up.
Can I
But
have a
it's been
motion
sold.
To receive and schedule? Somebody wanna make that motion?
Make a motion to receive, scheduled for public hearing July 21st, 2025.
Second?
I'll second it.
John seconds. Any further discussion? No. John, Brian?
Good.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed or abstentions? None. Okay. Adoption of minutes, workshop meeting, if you wanna go, sir, I think we're, unless you wanna make a comment.
He's hanging
you know.
tough. He's like, I can make it till 10.
Adoption of minutes, workshop, May 19th, 2025. Hmm? Oh, okay.
No meeting. No minutes.
And, regular meeting, May 19th, 2025. Somebody wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve regular
Second.
meeting minutes.
I wasn't voting at that meeting, so I shouldn't vote on this, right?
No, you can.
I can?
Yeah.
You were there, this is just voting on the record, just saying that the record is possibly correct.
Okay,
So you're seconding?
Yeah.
sure, I'll second.
Okay. All right, motion by Brian, second by, Norm. Any further discussion? All in favor,
Oh.
say aye.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Just clarification on seating your alternates, because I came in late because I was having the technical problems connecting. So you had seated Norm.
Right.
But I came in, does that need to be reflected here, that I came in a few minutes late? Because I know it says up top I showed up at 7:02 or something like that after roll call. Just in the seating of alternates, because I don't know who was voting in that meeting, but.
She, that would also be taken, she takes care of that also on our motion pages.
Okay.
And that tells us exactly on the motion page who voted on what motion.
All right, I just didn't know if you needed it in section 2 or not, that's all.
Yeah. You always do when someone comes in late.
Okay. So, that's it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed or abstentions? All right, correspondence, zoning practice, if we've got that, department reports. John's out. Economic development. You've been waiting all night here just to say this.
It's worth the wait. EPA was on site for the Bluebell Mill last week. They set up the air monitoring equipment, and they'll be doing door knocking to the neighbors just to let them know what's going on, what they can expect, and any emergency contact numbers if they have questions. They will be expanding the fenced area as they continue the work, but they should be fully engaged in the site by June 30th. We had 2 ribbon cuttings on Friday night on the upstairs of 140 Main for 2 hair salons, 1 barber's loft and Craft Collective. We got permission under the multi-use EPA grant to start phase 1 and phase 2 on the Bailey Hill Mill site, and we will start that probably midsummer. My Rose City Networking Group, they awarded the Tips for Tool KVA program $10,000 and it's a scholarship program, so they can buy tools for the students on a need basis, and they get to keep the tools for the duration of their education and take them into the workforce. On July 17th, up in Putnam at the Town Hall, NECOG, UConn, EPA will be partnering on a brownfield roundtable discussion, and Killingly was invited to be a panelist with our brownfield work. And then our next EDC meeting will be July 1st at 5 p.m.
Town council?
We had a presentation by the peer support group for first responders, and the town council approved giving them all of the opioid settlement funds as their programs are approved. And the police department, the blue light telephone has been installed on the building. You dial 911 automatically when the button is pushed. The local traffic authority attended required training. It has the authority to change, revise, install traffic control signing, pavement markings, traffic control signals, and other items involving the road. Collective bargaining petition was filed with the State of Connecticut Labor Department and the Connecticut State Board of Labor Relations for the police and the ASOs. The election will be on June 17th, which is tomorrow. The new resident state trooper contract goes from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th of 2027. The cost is $150,723.52. That's the salary and the overhead calculations on mileage, supplies, and fringe benefits. The East Coast Greenway Trail, the town of Putnam has been identified as a candidate for installation, and the trail would cross from the river to the area where the YMCA is and run between the river and 395, and it would be extended to the intersection of Lake Road, Upper Maple Street, Ottawagan Crossing, and Putnam is responsible for that. Wyndham Energy requested withdrawal of their application for the electrical generating facility. The contract was still active, and the council declared these matters to be no longer pending before the agency. They wouldn't be able to build the plant anywhere because they're run out of time, and that's where the proposed battery storage is. And the lease of state land was renewed for 5 years with no rental fees for the parcels that are in the area of 6 and Route 12, lower portion of Main Street and Water Street, and includes parking across from St. James School. And that is it.
So Wyndham Energy was the old power plant that was gonna go in, and that had to be done before the battery plant. So the battery plant's moving forward, or it's not? Oh, the battery plant went through?
The battery plant withdrew because the Connecticut Siting Council said they still had an open approved application before them for NTE. And I guess they have so many, I guess it's years or whatever, to build something like we do with our site plan. And they said until they do that, they were not going, I believe they said they were not going to go issue another permit for the same site. NTE does not exist, but before they disbanded, they never went to the Siting Council to withdraw their permit. So they can't get anybody to withdraw the permit at this time.
It was interesting. I saw an application for that same type of battery storage plant. I think it was New Jersey, and they were massive opposition. We have a motion to, close. Whatever. You make a motion, have a second? To adjourn, there you go.
I'll second.
Norm makes the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.